I want to talk about something that is destroying your conversations, and it may be harming trust in your relationships and in the workplace. It's something that can destroy an organization. It can stop progress and development, all the way from the boardroom down to the people who are working on the floor of your organization. If you can focus on eliminating this one thing, it may make all the difference to your organization and the relationships within it. But if you leave it unchecked, your organization will either fall behind or it will create conflict and tension that can lead to lots of sick leave and other kinds of damage within your organization. The feeling I'm talking about is contempt. And it is not just a feeling, it is a conversation killer. I've worked with leaders and organizations where contempt wasn't addressed and it caused many more problems than were necessary. Contempt doesn't always shout. Sometimes it smirks, sometimes it rolls the eyes, and it says, "Do you really think that is a valid point?" I experienced it recently with a conversation I was having with someone. We were sharing information, trying to stay within what we knew was facts. But then there was a shift in tone. Not said out loud, but a smirk, a raised eyebrow, and a change in posture and tone. The question was, where did you get that information from? And just like that, the point I was trying to make was shushed away, not disagreed with, but devalued and dismissed. And it wasn't necessarily because it lacked merit, but it's because the person who was hearing the information didn't trust the source that I got it from. Instead of being curious or investigating, they dismissed it immediately. That is contempt. It doesn't argue, it dismisses. And that changes the whole dynamic of the conversation and over time, the relationship. In the workplace, contempt can turn up between teams, across hierarchies, and even in leadership meetings. And it may not be loud, but it's there. It's that laugh sometimes that says you don't belong in this conversation. One of the real dangers with contempt is that it can destroy psychological safety. And what's dangerous for the organization is it can also shut down innovation. It silences the people who may have things that you need to hear for the benefit of everyone and the organization. Recently, I've been involved in an organization which has been dealing with some old narratives that have been flying around, where the leadership has made some tangible and concrete changes. They've rebuilt the culture, made some value-based decisions, and communicated them clearly. But some people in the organization still don't trust them. Why? Because the old stories, the old narratives are still alive. Stories where people say one thing, but they mean another. And issues from the previous culture that were never actually addressed. And when people don't trust the present, they fall back into the past. So when no one speaks to those old stories, contempt fills in the silence. So here are a few things that you can do to deal with contempt in the workplace. First of all is to name and address the behavior. Be curious about if that's what the person wanted to do, and let them know that it came off dismissive. Often people don't realize the impact of their words or behavior until somebody points it out to them. The second thing you want to do is set some kind of emotional boundaries. And I know when we're talking about business and being professional, we don't immediately think of emotions. At the same time, we know that feeling when someone says something we disagree with, that we may get that feeling inside where we want to react. Don't match contempt with defensiveness. You're not here to win. You're here to understand and to be understood. 3, stay curious and not combative. Ask them, help me to understand what it is you're trying to say, or what made you react in that way. Curiosity can diffuse tension faster than logic. Sometimes it's better to reset the relationship. Let them know that you want to understand where they're coming from, but you'd also like for them to understand what you're trying to achieve. You want shared goals and not just arguments. Remind the team that the whole purpose of the organization is to build something together, whether that is a service or a product. You need to be aligned and on the same page. That's going to require trust and loyalty, and there is no space for contempt in between. Finally, but most importantly, if contempt is persistent, get some help from the outside. Don't let contempt destroy what you've built or what you're trying to build. Everyone benefits from being aligned and being on the same page, with everyone pulling in the same direction. If we look at the history, you might see situations like Blockbuster versus Netflix, Kodak versus the digital camera. In both cases, there were people who were trying to let them know the future is changing, we need to be ready. but because they didn't appreciate or didn't recognize how important what was being said, they got left behind. Share this with someone who you think might be interested, or even to someone who disagrees with you. Contempt is easy, but listening is leadership. So, do you want to be heard? And do you have time to listen?